Hi everyone, this is Future Ben here, and before I get into the foreword for the upcoming episode, I have incredible news. My channel has over 100 subscribers, and I can't express how much that means to me. So I want to thank all of you for coming in and week out and supporting me on my channel, commenting, and just pressing that like button, or just showing your general support for me and this channel. It means so much to me that I'm still here after a year and that you are still watching. And like I said, I can't express myself in how touched I am and how much that means to me. So I just want to say thank you. And on April 19th, I'm going to be doing a 1-year anniversary. That's a Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So it's a slightly off schedule compared to my normal Monday nights. There won't be a regular video on Monday night. And if you can't tell, this video isn't edited, so it's just my stream of conscious thoughts because I'm trying to express myself, and I'm just so excited and thrilled for this channel and for all of you, and I wanted to just get my genuine reactions, so thank you. And anyways, April 19th, Tuesday night, 7 p.m., I'm bringing on a special guest who is my wife, and we're going to be discussing what it's like to write while having a romantic partner and some of the issues that have come from that. So bring your best questions for us to answer, and I hope to see you there. And as added incentive, I was going to do giveaways for bookmarks and Amazon gift cards, but because I have over 100 subs, I felt obligated to do more than that, and so I'm going to offer up my time. I'm going to do something to give back to you all, and that will include beta reads and critique partnerings. So for the first 10 people that show up, there will be 2 extra giveaways of me to beta read or critique partner, depending on what you all want. For 20 people who show up in the live episode, there will be 3 chances to win, along with the bookmarks and Amazon gift cards. And then, and then it just keeps going up from there. So if 30 live people show up, that'll be 4 chances, etc., etc., etc. But I'm just so thankful for this writing community, for all of you who support me. And I wanted to show my appreciation and give back to you all somehow. So again, thank you. Now this episode I created, I call it Don't Kick the Cat. And last week was all about saving the cat, where a character shows that they are virtuous by saving an innocent animal. Well, this is the opposite, where someone shows that they are evil by harming an innocent animal or throwing rocks towards them to scare them off or whatever. There was some Batman movie, I think, where there was a dark alleyway and somebody was throwing rocks at a dog to scare them off before a drug deal. I don't really remember. It was from a video. That's where the idea came from this. I've since forgotten where it came from, so it happens. Whatever. Anyways, thank you again. This whole experience is really humbling, and I just appreciate all of you, and thank you. And I hope you enjoy this upcoming episode. See you on the 19th. Hello. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. Today, I'm going to discuss the opposite of last week's topic, where I went into the save the cat method. So this will be all about something I'm calling kicking the cat. This will be a hot take, but do not hurt animals. In real life, in a movie, in a novel, don't have a character kick a stray or throw rocks near them to scare them off. To quickly recap from last week, a common story element is to show a character doing something heroic, like saving a box of kittens, to demonstrate that they're noble and worthy of following their story. For a list of alternatives to this Save the Cat template, check out my last video. On the other hand, to show that someone is villainous, that character will perform an act that I call kicking the cat. An example could be a villain literally kicking a defenseless animal. I can't remember the movie, but I have a vague mental image of a mob enforcer holding a gun while in a poorly lit alleyway, and as they're waiting for a drug shipment to show up, they happen to kick a stray dog that was there to scare them off. Again, don't do this either in real life or to your characters in your stories. Another example could be a villain gratuitously chewing an apple, kind of like how they chew through scenery, such as when the steward of Gondor has an intimate moment while eating a tomato,
as Pippin the Hobbit sings a song to him to try not to cry, as the steward's son all but dies in battle to try and fail to earn his father's love. Now for the reason you all hear my witty running metaphors. Geese are assholes. When I used to run along the Potomac, I would have to weave between them as they were grazing and blocking the sidewalk. Sometimes they would get out of the way if they saw me coming, and even when they did, they still seemed smug about it. I've known a few runners who've been attacked by geese. Even so, I would never kick one that's in my way. An early sign of a person being a sociopath is somebody who is willing to harm animals, defenseless or otherwise. From a narrative standpoint, having a villain who doesn't care about others often makes for a boring character to read. Here are 5 alternatives to proving that someone is a villain without having them kick a cat. Number 1, motives. Do you know what makes a much greater threat than an obvious villain who eliminates everyone in their way and takes time out of their busy schedule to hurt those weaker than them? Someone who works from the shadows with clear goals in mind, who is able to charm the hero into handing over the keys to the castle. Giving a concrete objective to cause a villain to act villainous makes me care much more about whether or not they succeed. This automatically elevates them from generic villain who wants to conquer the world or do evil for the sake of doing evil. Their motives don't need to be complex either. Revenge or securing wealth for themselves and their children are simple ideas that can transform a reasonable person into a monster hellbent on destroying the heroes of the story. Number 2, personality. Instead of designing a villain to be irredeemable, make them a decent person. Having a villain think of themselves as righteous to justify their selfish and duplicitous actions leads for more nuanced and interesting stories. There is a lot of emphasis on making heroes more than one-note pawns to move plot forward, so I think it's about time that we held villains up to the same standards and gave them multiple dimensions. Morally gray all the way. Be sure to make those villains fun. Rather than having them brooding alone in a dark room, fixated on a single grievance or mistake, show them enjoying life and hanging out with friends, all while moving their diabolical plans forward. Number 3, leave nameless minions as nameless. For the second week in a row, I'll reference Jim Butcher's Calderon series. I'm steadily working through those 6 novels as an alternative to getting my Dresden Files fix while waiting for the next novel to be published. Fingers crossed for 2022. Jim Butcher regularly applies excellent storytelling mechanics to keep readers engaged. He also falls into standard tropes and predictable scenarios. Whereas I praised him last week for presenting a moral dilemma to a hero instead of having them simply save a cat, this upcoming example, he took the easy route in a story by having a character metaphorically kick a cat. In the prologue to one of the novels, a character was complaining about how they weren't able to take part in the spoils of war due to being on this mission. He went into graphic details about the women and looting that he was missing out on. Had he walked around with a bullseye on his back, his death on the next page wouldn't have been as blatantly broadcasted. Using the kick the cat moment to justify a later death is unimaginative. I would have liked that prologue more if that character had redeeming qualities before being brutally murdered, or if he had remained as a nameless minion instead of having to learn his meaningless backstory. Instead, he was written to be elevated above the disposable nameless, yet remained unnecessary. I get that he was included so that we feel something when his companion dies, who was decent enough by comparison. Yet by the start of chapter 1, both of these characters were forgettable. Every word in a story should progress its narrative, and creating character fodder and wasting words is the greatest crime a writer can commit in their stories. Number 4, fear. Does the room go quiet when the villain enters? Do people flinch when they deliver them bad news? Fear is a terrible method of ruling and motivating others, yet it's a clear indicator of an abuse of power. In this instance, the villain can be implied to have caused harm to countless people, yet we don't actually need to see some cheesy, over-the-top moment.
This better not take long. I already tried to kill 3 people at this table.
Yes. What do you mean? No, you heard me the first time.
Shh.
shoot the puppy. I'm so sick of feeding him. Kill the puppy. Jump.
Like finally seeing a horror movie monster after it's been teased for the first half of a movie and realizing that it's a person in a badly made rubber suit, or getting 3 prequel movies to discover why Darth Vader turned evil. In many cases, less is more. When we learn the full truth behind a villain or some of the acts that they performed, my usual thoughts are, is that all? And this still doesn't make sense. And lastly, number 5, do it. Go over the top. Look at Joffrey from the Game of Thrones series. He was a villainous pile of garbage. We watched as he manipulated those around him, humiliated those better than him, and performed numerous irredeemable acts. His over-the-top villainy was filled with nothing but kick the cat moments. Yet I wanted to read more about him to learn why and how a child could become that twisted, and ultimately for that comeuppance moment where everyone he hurt murdered him. Many of the modern villains I've read who have their kick the cat moments feel like pale imitations of Joffrey. These shows of force tend to come across to me as one-off instances of lazy writing. I am bored with them and redshirt grunts who try too hard that one time to prove that they're a villain. If you're going to make a character kick a cat, then make them kick all the cats. Have them be a monster where it almost becomes a competition as they try and outdo every reviling act they've done previously. Those are some of my tips to avoid falling into the kick the cat trope, and one example to fully embrace it. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write. If you enjoyed what I do here, then please hit those like and subscribe buttons. It really does help this channel grow. Let me know in those comments about the worst thing you've made a villain do. Do you agree with my opinions, or is everything I said wrong? I post my running and writing progress on social media, so be sure to follow me and join in with your own thoughts. See you next Monday. Until then, don't hurt animals and appreciate the ones in your life.
Oof.